Hey everyone, this is Kieran from MSK Physio, and today's exercise is going to be looking at the sternocleidomastoid muscle of the neck. It's a muscle which connects our head to our thorax or our rib cage, and it's really important in things like rotation and bringing the head forward. It's got a lot of other nuanced jobs, say in breathing, but it also can play a role in types of headaches that come up around the side here. So if you've had a neck or a head injury before, this muscle is probably involved in some way. If you're not sure, then try the strengthening exercise, and if it feels tough, then you probably know it's for you. Also, if you had some headaches, it might be a useful muscle to address as well. So with a lot of neck muscles, we need to consider that there's a lot of complexity in this area, and the complexity being that there's a lot of potential variables for movement or movement capacity. That's just because of the shape of the joints, and it's one of the more mobile areas of our body. There's also a lot of important structures that run through the neck. Most of these structures shouldn't be at risk during these types of exercises, just depending on your general health. If you have any things like any vascular disease or history of neurological disorders that have come from this area, then I'd be getting a clearance from your GP just to be sure, or from your physical therapist, just to be sure that you're safe to do some of these neck exercises. But with this one in particular, should be pretty good because it's nice and low load. So to start with our SCM, a lot of people, to begin with, if it is an issue for them, they don't have a lot of access to it. By access, it just means not getting into positions which actually allow them to use the muscle to its full potential. It's always going to be working in the background unless you've had a cranial nerve injury to your accessory nerve, which is the nerve that gives its motor ability. But that being said, people will lose a little bit of it, whether it's because they're in like a forward head posture for a long period, which puts some end of the muscles in a short position, or they've lost an ability to rotate to one side, or maybe to look down underneath them. But to start with the flexion, what we need to think about is this SCM. If it's going to be short at both ends, it's going to actually it doesn't connect to the neck, so it doesn't actually move the neck directly. It's more of it connects to the head on this mastoid process here. So if I do that rotation again this way, you can see that it connects up behind the ear here. And what it's actually going to do is it's going to pull my head this way. It's going to help push my chin forward. Now the other end of it has a couple heads to it, so it's going to connect down onto this manubrium here of my sternum, and then it's going to also connect onto my clavicle over here. And each of those can act not necessarily independently of each other, but when they do contract, they're doing different things, right? Because they attach to different parts. So they can actually assist with breathing a bit. This pump handle, the ability for my sternum to come forward and back this way. And then it can also add a little bit of elevation to that clavicle. So thinking about how we want to work it, we need to think about moving both those ends. And this is where it gets a bit complex because it's a triaxial muscle. So to start with, we're just going to lay down on the ground here, and I'm going to bring my head into a little bit of extension this way, so my chin's kind of going straight up. I'm sort of not embracing the double chin like we do with other neck flexion exercises. And I'm just going to lift my head off the ground a little bit, and what we'll see is this SCM kicking straight away. If I were to bring my chin down, the SCM is still working. I haven't changed this end. I've made the muscle long at this end, but it's still going to be working hard down here. But if I go here, now I'm asking this muscle, which crosses many joints, to be short at both ends, particularly if I start raising my head up this way. So it's quite challenging for that muscle to do its job. So the exercise is essentially chin up, try and touch your chin to the sky, and just hold here to start with. And you'll start to feel a little bit of fatigue coming in. So for me, I'm feeling a little bit more on my right side. And as you get more confident, you can start to raise up higher and higher. And the movement is actually to try and touch the chin to the sky, not so much this way. There's a limit to that anyway, depending on your spinal mobility. So hold, 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 and then come back down until we feel a bit of fatigue through those muscles. This is a really nice place to sort of start progressing from some of our isometrics, which we might do sitting. So if you feel like this is hard to engage with, you're like, oh, my head's just very heavy, or my capacity, 5 seconds, 10 seconds in, I'm already at my max, I'm shaking, it's just too much. Then what you probably want to do is just get into a seated position, wherever you're at. It could be chair, it could be the bed, and turn your head a little bit to the side and push at your temple, like I'm trying to push my head down that way. So I'm pushing my hand back, and the two of them are just creating resistance against each other. And just make sure that you can feel that muscle popping out. For a lot of people, they're probably going to be this way, and so when they go to push, it just doesn't kick in as much. Other things are going to kick in. If I shorten it over here, you can see it start to pop out. And just make sure and give it a little squeeze and be like, oh yeah, I feel like that muscle can do that job of tightening up. And then the second thing would be chin forward, just like we did when we were laying down, chin forward that way. And I'm going to push in between my eyes, and then this muscle has to kick in to resist and come down. Like I said, there's a lot of other muscles working at the same time. We're just trying to bias certain muscles based on their attachment points. And this is an important muscle for being able to do things like reach the head forward and maybe do some turning. So if you feel like you've lost that capacity a little bit, then give this exercise a go and work through a normal strengthening progression. If you like this video, then please hit like below. Otherwise, to check out more of our content in the future, you can subscribe to our channel by clicking our logo over here. And to check out our latest video, click up here.